reviewing for our quiz tomorrow on matrices. So on example 1 or problem 1, we are asked to subtract these two matrices. And you could use calculator. In my opinion, it's not worth the effort to type these matrices in. Right? When you are doing adding and subtracting, you just add or subtract corresponding elements, right? So those numbers inside the matrix. So we'll start with 5 minus 0 here. And then 3 minus a negative 9. Trickiest part here is watching out for those double negatives. Right? 0 minus a negative 9 is 9. 3 minus a negative 5 is 8. Negative 3 minus a negative 5 is 2. And 2 minus a negative 7 is 5. Negative 2 minus a negative 7 is 5. Again, you could enter that into your calculator and work that way if you wanted to. For number 2, scalar multiplication, we are scaling that 2 by 2 matrix by 3. So we can just multiply each element by the 3 on the outside. Right? So 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 1, 3 times negative 2, and 3 times 0 gives me that 2 by 2 matrix. Question 3, you could go through the process of multiplying these out by hand. I recommend just using a calculator. Just a quick review: to enter these in, you tell it how many rows, how many columns, and then you type in the values. Right, so just making sure that you get everything entered correctly. Don't forget any negatives. I always, when I'm done, give it a quick glance to make sure that I have done everything as it should be. So negative 7, 6, negative 5, negative 6, 1, negative 4. And then I hit the enter button. I have some other matrices preloaded, so I'm on to matrix F. And then matrix G will be a 3-row, 1-column matrix with elements of negative 9, 0, and 7. And then I just tell the calculator to multiply F times G. Right, so I get a 2 by 1 matrix. 28 and 26 are my elements. For numbers 4 and 5, they give us 3 matrices, A, B, and C. I would just enter those into my calculator as A, B, and C. I have already done that. Can't make them all fit in the screen there, but you can see the bottom half of A and then B and C. Making sure that everything is typed in correctly. And then when it is time to do your multiplication, right, for number 4, I can just type in 3b minus 2c, and I get that 2 by 2 matrix that I can just copy in. 5, 11, negative 17, negative 20. And then for number 5, A times B, I can just type in the AB. Don't even need the multiplication sign in between. 28, 72, 12, and 43. Moving right along, evaluate the determinant. I have already entered that matrix in as matrix D. And to find the determinant, I just hit this DET button right here. And I tell it what matrix I want to find the determinant of. So you would enter that matrix ahead of time and then tell the calculator to find the determinant. Same with inverse. I have already entered that matrix in. I entered it in as matrix E. And so then I can just tell my calculator matrix E to the -1 power for the inverse. Do not try to just add some negative signs and make some fractions or anything like that. Just enter it into the calculator and let the calculator do the work. For number 8, we are determining if these multiplying these matrices is defined. Is it possible? And if so, what are the dimensions of the product? So they tell us that matrix A is a 1/3. And matrix B is a 3/4. And I check those inside terms. And if those inside terms match, then it has a defined answer. And these outer two are my new dimensions, right? So the 1 and the 4 are on the outside. So the product matrix is a 1/4 matrix. A times C, I get a 1/3, multiplying by a 5/5 for matrix C. Right? These inner two do not match, so this answer is undefined. B times C, B is a 3/4, C is still a 5/5, and 4 and 5 don't match. So this one is also undefined. For part D, we have AB times C. Well, we already found the dimensions for AB in our first example, right here. And we see that it had a 1/4 product matrix. And matrix C right here is a 5/5. And the 4 and the 5 inside do not match. So it is undefined. Right? If you are multiplying A times B, matrix B has to have the same number of rows as matrix A has columns. To me, it's easier just to remember I write down the dimensions of the two and I check if the inner two dimensions match. And if they do, the outer dimensions are my product dimensions. So for number 9, the most actual thinking that needs to be done on the entire quiz. So table shows snowfall for 3 cities over 2 years in the months of January and February. Part A asks us to write 2 matrices sorting this data by year. So right now it's sorted by month. So we're going to have a year 1 matrix and a year 2 matrix. So 19, 10, and 15. That's my January numbers for the cities A, B, and C. And my second column will be the February numbers here for cities A, B, and C. For our second matrix, we have our year 2, 42, 9, and 2. 39, 5, and 4, right? Again, January, February, and then cities A, B, and C. Find a matrix that gives the change in the amount of snow from year 1 to year 2 by month for each city. So to find change, we are going to have to do some subtraction, right? And to find the change from year 1 to year 2, we would do year 2 minus year 1. And I've had some people say, well, why can't I do y1 minus y2? You're going to get the same absolute values, right? When we get a positive value, you'll have the negative of that value, and and vice versa, right? So looking at change in snow from year 1 to year 2 by month for each city. So we are still going to have a 3 by 2. So I'm going to do the 42 minus the 19 would be 23. And then here I have 39 minus 16, which is 23. And then 9 minus 10, -1. 5 minus 11 is -6. And then 2 minus 15 is -13. And 4 minus 12 is -8. Then it says it is believed that in year 3 it will snow twice as much as it did in year 2 in the month of February, and the exact same as it did in January of year 2. Write a matrix that will show snowfall per city for year 3. Right, so this is our year 3 matrix here. We have our 3 cities, A, B, C. We're going to have 3 rows and still 2 columns, a January and a February. They said January is going to be the same as year 2's January. And year 3 is going to be double year 2's February. So we scale these values here by 2. So we get that is our outcome. If you know anybody who lives in city A, you're going to want to warn them to get a new snow shovel, because we see here that they get a lot of snow coming up in year 3. That's a lot of snow. So that gets you ready for the quiz tomorrow. The quiz will have a lot of similarities. The story problem will not be the exact same. You're going to have a different situation. It won't be snow in cities, and your questions are going to be similar, but especially the first question is going to be different. They're going to ask you to make some different matrices, so be on the lookout for that.